a massive weekend of success and domination
Yeah.
for the Utah Jazz as they absolutely came out rolling and they swept two games, Jake, that frankly I think were really important. They beat the Dallas Mavericks on Friday night. They beat the Phoenix Suns in Phoenix yesterday to start this road trip. To me, Jake, these are two monumental wins for this club.
Yeah, I think it says a lot. I think that the Jazz are, the Jazz are trying to create this push that we talked about last week. Where you're if you watched the show last week, or you can go back and look, we specifically talked about how this team would ideally go 19-5 to end the year. I mean, that's what your goal is as a team. That's what you're shooting for. And when I look at what this team has done over the last month or so, February and the end of January. The end of January sucked. You lost, was that 5 in a row, I think it was, and everybody was down and saying, that the season was basically over, and then you've bounced back here with a nice run. You've won 8 of your last 9, and you're looking nice, if you will. So I think that this team is bouncing back well. That said, again, the other side of it is, you're going to be in a place where now you're going to be rested as well. So, like, again, you played Friday, then you played Sunday. Now you're going to be off until Wednesday. I got news for you. Being off for 3 days or 2 days, really, I guess that'd be 2 full days, and then obviously most of your game day. That's huge for an NBA team. So I think, yeah, these were 2 big wins. I think, last night specifically against Phoenix, I thought that was kind of an insane game. At one point the Jazz were down a pretty good amount. Then the Suns were down by, I think, 9 with like 5 minutes to go. And they, the Jazz end up winning by 4. And everyone wants to say, well, Jay Crowder threw the game away. But I don't really think it was all on Jay Crowder. The classic sports situation. Hey, a guy at the end of the game didn't make a play, so it's all his fault. I don't really think that's how really the game played out.
But come on, listen, man, it is shocking. It was a bad mistake. He straight up threw the ball in the stands. Isn't that why he's not a Jazz man anymore?
I guess.
For all the people who were pissed off. Yeah. This is exactly why Jay Crowder doesn't play for the Utah Jazz anymore.
Yeah, I think that Jay Crowder has been great as a Phoenix Sun. I think that was an awful play, a terrible mistake. In the moment, could you say, well, if he just gets the ball to Book's got about 2 seconds to make something happen.
And Book had been really hot the last 5 minutes of the game.
You like your chances, right? You like your chances. But that said, I think what's more important to talk about here is what officials are letting go and what they're not letting go. Meaning that all night long they were allowing Rudy and Ayton to kind of push each other around and play a pretty physical game, And I thought that Daniel House brought a lot of physicality as well to Devin Booker. I think it was very notable. I think a lot of people are talking about that Royce O'Neal seemingly has been passed by House, which is kind of crazy how quickly that happened. But I think he's earned it, And I think as long as he can make the 3 at a reasonable rate, he's going to be out there a lot. So, yeah, I look at these 2 wins and I say, okay, these are 2 huge wins. And by the way, another small note, I think if you're a Jazz fan, is losing to that Laker team was kind of a shock to the system on Wednesday because they have looked really, really bad. So after you lost that game to bounce back and win these 2, I think, kind of tells you where the team's at right now.
Yeah, and I also think that the Daniel House thing is significant. We've talked a lot about Royce O'Neal on this show. We have advocated for months and months to sit Royce O'Neal down. Now, before Daniel House was on this team, I don't know that was really an option because you didn't have something better than Royce O'Neal. Now I think certainly Daniel House showed you that he can play multiple positions or defend multiple positions on the floor. He's much better than Royce in the pick and roll. I think he is a guy that fights through the screen instead of just defaulting under it. And I think he showed you that he can body up guys. And I think that's exactly what Royce O'Neal's lost the ability to do now. And I also think Daniel House hit several big threes for the Jazz. That 3 out of the corner late in the game was an absolute difference maker. Mm-hmm. So while I don't think he locked down any one player, I absolutely think he made them a better defensive club in the last few minutes of that game. And I don't think there's any question that defense has become the priority for this team. I don't think there's any doubt that you look at Don's game, he has stepped up defensively. You look at the way that he is being much more tenacious. He is being much more aggressive defensively. Now, you're still getting lapses out of Bojan Bogdanovic. Frankly, the miscommunication in the paint is shocking from the Jazz on a lot of the, Devin Booker was having his way in the mid-range because nobody was stepping up. And Hassan Whiteside, don't get me wrong, I think Hassan played a very good game yesterday, but he also has to be better defensively. Mm-hmm. He's got to step up and take that mid-range shot because that's where the Utah Jazz are vulnerable. So I think you can clean these things up, but make no mistake about it. This team's won 89 games. They are red hot. I thought the fact that the Dallas Mavericks couldn't find a way to exploit Rudy Gobert in that pick and roll switch, and that you had him one-on-one with Luka Doncic. And again, Luka's never going to be confused for Ja Morant when it comes to quickness. But I don't know what Luka was doing. And I say, hey, Rudy Gobert's the Defensive Player of the Year 3 times over for a reason. He absolutely shut down Luka Doncic in that one-on-one. Mm-hmm. The couple of block shots that we saw were pivotal in winning that game. This is what Utah Jazz basketball should look like.
Yeah, I think the intensity is definitely ramped up for this team. I think that they understand the situation they're in. And again, I just want to I want to keep talking about this. So when you look at standings and you look at where everybody is at, you know, the Jazz don't have endless breathing room. You know, you're in a place where you've only got a 3-game cushion to the Mavericks, I believe it is. And the problem is, you're a full 3 games behind the Grizzlies. So the conversation isn't, well, if they go 19-5, let's say, can they get a higher seed? That's not really what this team's trying to do. This team is trying to just stay right where they are in the 4 spot. Again, you're what is this, 3.5 games ahead of Dallas and Denver, and you're a full 3 games behind Memphis. So you've got a good cushion, but you've also got a big cushion to get to the next spot. So I think if this team can just be consistent, bring this type of energy and effort defensively, you're going to see good things are going to happen on the offensive end. And if that happens, and this team, again, shoots 40% from 3, you're going to be tough to beat.
But I think this is something where you can now see the value and the importance of Donovan Mitchell. Mm-hmm. When you look at the way that this team, and I know we've talked about this ad nauseum, you look at the way this team is constructed, and it really has been, for most of the last 3 years, centered around Rudy Gobert. And his defense is phenomenal. But what you've seen over the last month of the season, especially since Donovan returned from the concussion, this team is very squarely built on Donovan Mitchell on the floor now, philosophically speaking. You're not going to be able to remake this roster. You're not going to be able to inject energy on the wings until the offseason. Mm-hmm. But you can very clearly see the focal point of this basketball team is Donovan Mitchell now. The high pick and roll has become less and less. And I agree with you. I think one of the interesting trends that if you're a Jazz fan, you need to watch, how much is Rudy Gobert getting away with? Because I think there's no doubt his screens are questionable at best. I think we saw multiple times in the paint, especially in the last 5 minutes, he holds guys down on the floor by their uniform. And he was, I mean, the TV broadcast showed it 3 times where he had, Mikal Bridges one time, DeAndre Ayton, he had DeAndre Ayton by the the waistline of his pants. And there was no call made. If they're not going to blow the whistle there, Rudy's going to dominate. And I think we saw that. And I think that is something that the Jazz desperately need. Mm-hmm. They need Rudy to be able to play physical. They need him to be able to get away with those screens on top, roll to the basket, and then, do what you got to do to hold a guy on down on the floor. Because if you're able to keep Mikal Bridges on the floor, you're going to win that battle most of the time. Mikal's advantage is he's able to get up over you. He's got really, really, really dominating length. But when you're holding his jersey and his shorts and he can't jump, that's going to make it difficult for him to use that length. So as much as Rudy Gobert bitches and moans at the officials, he is getting a lot of benefit of the doubt here.
Well, and I think if you're the Jazz, you want him to abuse that. You're basically saying, hey, push the envelope as far as you can push it. Again, we're not trying to commit flagrant fouls or anything, but I think that, hold guys as much as you can. I think, when you say, I want people to be real clear what you mean by his screens are questionable at best. What that means is not that they're not good screens. It's the legality of the screen. Hey, a lot of the time he is moving a little bit, or he is, sticking his hips out and making it even harder for the guy to go over the screen. Like Rudy, from that standpoint, is doing a good job. I think what will be really interesting to see is just simply how it's officiated, because all the things that he is doing, the holding of the shorts, the way he sets the screen, he got away all night long with pushing guys in the back. Like, they weren't calling any of that stuff. And so that is a big part of Rudy's game, no doubt. The problem will be, will they allow that in the playoffs? Will that be officiated differently in the playoffs? Because that changes the dynamic of a game. So if I was Quinn Snyder, I'd be saying to Rudy, hey, abuse this until they start blowing the whistle. Why wouldn't you? That's what I'd be doing.
If you can get away with setting the screen the way that Rudy is setting the screen, which is, as you talked about, he's never set.
Mm-hmm.
He is constantly moving. He is using his elbows. He is using his hips.
Drop that mother.
Yeah, he is leaning. It's a great way to set a screen in the NBA because it makes it very difficult to get around that. I think the bigger thing is when you're looking at the way that he is operating in the paint. Rudy Gobert right now is getting the favor of the officials. And we talk a lot about his relationship with the officials. We talk a lot about his incessant complaining, and we saw that yesterday again. He is getting calls, and he is still complaining about the call, even though they gave him the call.
Yeah.
But he is getting away with, to your point, the forearm shiv in the back of DeAndre Ayton that led to the tip dunk.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you don't call that.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, the baseline official's standing right there, so it's not a thing where they don't see it. And this is kind of my point. The official sees that that's going on.
Yeah.
But isn't blowing the whistle. And so my point here in all of this is, if you're a Jazz fan, you're thrilled with that. Hey, if you're not going to blow the whistle, we're going to continue doing that all night long.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we?
Yes.
And I think that if you're anybody playing the Utah Jazz, there's going to have to be a strategy of getting in Rudy's head. That's what I think. If I'm playing the Jazz, that's probably where I'm starting. I'm saying, okay, we need to come out and we need to be physical with Rudy. We need to show him that, yes, sure, he can push guys around, but we're going to push back. And I think last night, and this has been storied through DeAndre Ayton's career so far, that he's not a tough guy, that he's on the softer side of big men. And I think that, when you're playing, notice what happens when Rudy goes up against, let's say, Joel or Jokic. Most of the time, there's some flagrants involved in that game. Most of the time, there's some pushing, some shoving, some really physical, basketball that pushes the envelope of getting ejected, In this game last night, that was never the case. It was one-sided. Rudy was dominating physically, and he had his way. And I think that's what contributes to being able to hold the Suns off and being able to get all those extra putbacks. And because think about it, you won by 4 points.
Yeah.
If Rudy doesn't get a putback here, a putback there, that's the difference in this game. And that's why the officiating on that front matters so much. But let me be clear, I love that Rudy is doing these things. I love that he's the willingness to, push guys around and really be physical down there is starting to come out a little bit. They're going to need that if they have any chance in the postseason.
Well, and I also think, very clearly, these are two big wins. I just don't know if you're a Jazz fan. Yeah, I would be rejoicing. And that you won it with Donovan Mitchell leading the front.
Mm-hmm.
I think is huge, and I think that's where this team will thrive. We get so caught up in defense. We get so caught up in, all these minutia conversations. But at the end of the day, you have to score more than your opponent scores. And I know that seems idiotic and simplistic. This team at times gets plotting and methodical offensively.
Mm-hmm.
In the last 10 games, we haven't seen that.
And again, I just want to point out, with the schedule, just so we're all on the same page, hear me say this, I really don't think this team should lose again until March 14th against Milwaukee. that's the first game where I'm like, okay, that's Milwaukee. That's the champions. Like, they're a damn good team. You know, that's going to be a tough matchup for anybody, including
There
the
are
Jazz.
some tough stretches, though, and I don't want to make it seem like this is an easy schedule because, frankly, it's not. I mean, if you look at what's ahead here, you're going to have a tough time. You know, Houston's been hit or miss. You should beat Houston, right?
Mm-hmm.
New Orleans is very good right now. New Orleans, I mean, now the Lakers have not been very good, but they blew the Lakers out at Crypto.com Arena. I mean, Crypto Staples Center. Going to OKC, the Thunder have given the Jazz fits. At Dallas, again, next Monday, a week from today, that's a massive game.
And I think that's one, again, if you're a Jazz fan who can't watch every single night, that's when I'd be circling on the calendar to watch. That is a playoff preview.
Yes.
We just talked about how you beat Dallas at home on Friday. So let's see what you can do on the road.
And, you know, obviously you come back against Portland.
Should be a win.
Portland, I'm telling you now, Portland, even without Dame and CJ, I mean, anyway, that should be a win.
Mm-hmm.
You have some landmines in there. You have some really athletic teams that have given you trouble in recent times. But what I'm telling you is I would be paying very close attention to the way this team plays consistently.
Mm-hmm.
And more, trends are emerging on this Utah Jazz team. Mike Conley's inability to finish in the paint is becoming very...
It's a thing.
It's a thing. It's
That's
absolutely
all I'm gonna say.
a
It's
thing.
a thing. It's something to watch.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Conley's inability to get into the paint and finish is troubling. I think you're looking at Daniel House potentially taking over for Royce O'Neal. I think you're looking at Hassan Whiteside. Watch Hassan Whiteside very closely because when Hassan Whiteside is on, he's engaged, he's energetic, he's playing well, he's running hard. They're a much better team.
Mm-hmm.
The Utah Jazz are a much better team. I am by no means telling you that Hassan Whiteside is win or lose for this team, but what I'm telling you is he makes a significant difference when he is active and energetic on defense.
Yeah.
Anything he gives you offensively is again, just butter on your toast, right? Like,
yeah,
it's all good. When he's ready to go defensively, they're a much better team. And again, I would just tell you that this team is going to go as Don's going to go. Donovan Mitchell is the single most important player on this team.
Mm-hmm.
They have won 8 of 9 because he is playing well. It was a little concerning that he was out for that long stretch with whatever that was, a foot or ankle. He got stepped on, and then he clearly landed awkwardly.
Mm-hmm.
That was a little concerning. Now, a lot of people tell you that ankle injuries, the severity that he had, they're going to take time. They're going to take time to heal, and it's not a month. LeBron will tell you it took him a full year to get over that. So I just think that's something to watch.
Yeah.
But bask in this glory. They've won 8 of 9. They've just beaten 2 contenders, one of them the Phoenix Suns.
Mm-hmm.
And I see several comments where, hey, Chris Paul wasn't playing. It doesn't matter. That's the Phoenix Suns in Phoenix. That's the team that's in front of you.
Yeah.
And they are a very good team. With or without, that's a very good team. The negatives here, the things I'd be worried about, Mike Conley certainly, fourth quarter stability is a big problem for this team. And especially in tight moments, the Jazz have not been able to support I mean, they had at one point a 10-point lead with a minute left to play.
Yeah.
And they're giving up like that open 3 to Devin Booker. How is Devin Booker ever that wide open?
No idea.
How is that even a possibility?
Well, and there was a clear strategy to double book most of the night. I mean, you could see them, biasing their defense towards him. And he still found a way to get open late in the game. So I don't know, man. I don't know.
And he, by the way,
yeah,
we had a huge fight yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I almost wanted to sit on your face and burn a deuce, but I didn't.
Keep it real.
Yeah, I mean, I was keeping it real. I don't know why I just said that. But we argued over Devin Booker.
Let's settle this right now.
Like, it was blood sport.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I went all Wolverine and my talons or whatever bone shit comes out of his hands. Mine came out. right? Like mine came out.
Right, right.
I'm telling you, the narrative that Devin Booker isn't a big game player is ridiculous. Did he shoot well yesterday? No, he did not. Do the stats say he played a good game? Yes, they do. Was Devin Booker at his best yesterday? Not close. Not close. And I think what you're seeing is Devin Booker is having to be the entire team right now. With Chris Paul out, water's wet, Chris Paul's hurt. With Chris Paul out, Devin Booker's having to carry a significantly heavier load.
Yep.
And I think what you're seeing is
free ESPN ads are playing again. Come on.
They just running wild, man. They out here wilding.
Yeah.
He was 12 of 24 and 4 of 8 from 3.
It's not a bad game.
But he didn't shoot well. He scored 30 points. Dev was really good late. D-Book, wet like I'm booked, was very good. There was a Jazz fan narrative that, Daniel House locked him down. No, he didn't. Devin Booker, hey, man, all I'll say is I thought he played really well in the fourth quarter, but the third quarter, he missed a lot of shots.
Yeah, my biggest complaint with Book is very simple. It is that when I don't feel like right now, like with his reputation as a player, right, you can say, hey, Devin Booker made big shots, at the end of the game to win this game or that game for his team. Does Devin Booker fill up the stat sheet? Is Devin Booker one of the best scorers in the league? Is Devin Booker a force to be reckoned with in the West? 100%. Is Devin Booker a guy that will beat you if you give him an open look with 2 seconds left if his teammate could pass it to him? Yes. 100% yes.
Yep.
But I want to see him make that big shot in the postseason. I want that for him. I want him to have the Kevin Durant foot on the line moment where everybody knew that ball was going in, but his toe is so damn big that it wasn't a 3, it was a 2. I want Book to get those kind of opportunities to really cement himself as one of the absolute top 5 players in the league. That's where I feel like Book is at. It's not, there's no question that Book can score with the best of them or fill up a stat sheet, or he's someone that you got to scheme and plan for. There's no doubt about any of that. But just in my opinion, I think he has work to do when it comes to the clutch factor. When it comes to, hey, there's 2 minutes left and you're down 5, your team needs absolute buckets right now. That's what I want him to work on. And the only way you can work on that is by playing big games, missing big shots, and then taking more big shots.
But
this is what it is.
I would simply say, and obviously this is the regular season, who's been the most clutch player in the NBA this year?
Yeah, sure. I would say DeMar DeRozan's been more clutch than Devin Booker. DeMar DeRozan has 10 game-winning shots this year.
Yeah. Hey, man.
I mean,
I won't disagree with you.
I don't even think that it's close that DeMar DeRozan is the most clutch player in the league.
And listen, I want you to preach the gospel of DeMar.
Yeah.
I mean, he should be in the MVP conversation. He's not.
But
Devin Booker, I would agree with you that Book needs to be better in the postseason. I think he needs to be. But I mean, and by the way, we were arguing over this, and your little punk ass was saying, "Well, he's not good in postseason. He doesn't score points. He's never scored a point. He's never hit a shot in the postseason.
Said that.
Devin Booker sucks."
Never said that.
And I went on to tell you, well, I think he's a career. What is he? 24-something points a game. Well, in the postseason, he scores about 28 points a game, 27.7.
Cool.
The biggest issue for Devin Booker in the postseason, he doesn't make his threes. He shoots 27% from 3 in the postseason. Got to be better than that.
So here's the thing. Book is capable of doing what the greats have done in the postseason. He is capable of torturing you. He is capable of putting up 40. I think it was I was looking last night, I can't remember. In the Clippers series, I think he had a 47-point performance, and he puts up these big performances. But it's okay, that was game 2. Where are we at in game 6 and game 7? We remember the 14-point game, and so again,
there's no doubt he was a no-show in the postseason last year, especially in the finals.
But in his defense, I think on the other side of the conversation, it really was his first postseason. It really was his first run through, it was his first NBA Finals run through the postseason. So I think there's a lot you learn in that. Like last night, while I was watching him torture Daniel House, because I do think he was messing with him, I do think he got several tic-tac calls from the officials just by simply allowing House to come up and pressure him and then swinging
But you
through.
cannot. I don't understand why defenders in this league, and it happened last night in the Golden State game.
Yeah.
Stop putting your arm out in front of you when you're playing Steph Curry, Chris Paul, Devin Booker.
Listen, this has been going
when
on
you
since
do
Kobe.
this, yeah, when you do this, when like you're defending a guy and you're like this, he's going to swing through. You're going to hit his arm. They're going to blow the whistle.
A plus B equals you're an idiot.
The rule clearly states. Yeah, the rule clearly states bent forearm to the lower back or hip region is legal. Why are you doing this?
Oh, what a loser!
I don't understand.
And then you get upset when the official blows the whistle. So my point just is I think that Book is one of the best players in the game. I think he's a great scorer. I think he can do everything for you. But I think he has work to do on his legacy. I think he's got work to do on really ratcheting up that I'm going to kill you in the postseason mentality, like the greats in the game have done.
But by the way, your little boner boy, Kevin Durant.
Your little boner boy. What am I supposed to say to that? Like,
What you want me to say to that?
what am I supposed to say to that?
Your guy, Kevin Durant. He is somebody right now that's at a real important moment in his career, I think.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at now, I don't know how many people saw the news, but the city of New York essentially has said after March 7th, which I think is a week from today, Kyrie Irving can play home games.
But there is a question. There's one caveat with that people are concerned about.
It's caveat, please.
Caveats, please. That is for the public, that lifting of vaccine mandates or whatever. The private sector mandate has not been lifted yet, and there's concern that won't be lifted and that will still hold Kyrie back.
I don't think so. Again, and maybe I just have small little testicles. I don't know.
I don't know.
But
dude.
you show me the guy that's got the balls to walk in and hand the Brooklyn Nets a fine
This is a code 10 abort.
after you lift public COVID restrictions, and you're like, nah, fuck you, Kyrie, you can't play. You're gonna sit your ass at home.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe fuck yourself.
Like they're not. Get out of here. Like if you're gonna lift restrictions, he's gonna play.
Yeah.
And in my mind, we're being a little ridiculous with it, but it is what it is. I think if
fucking America.
Yeah, if they get him back,
Yeah.
if they get KD, Kyrie, and Curry playing together, I'm telling you, they're the best team in the East.
Yeah, Seth Curry is he's that guy that'll come off the bench and be a problem.
But by the way, fat ass who's not so fat
Fat
anymore.
ass.
James Harden. Yeah, James Harden.
Fat.
He's actually balling out in Philly.
Yeah, it's been 2 games. or
Well,
3 games.
but did you notice what his presence has done?
Mm-hmm.
It
yeah,
has
gives Joel
allowed
more space.
Yeah, it allowed Joel Embiid to operate.
That dynamic is what Donovan Mitchell doesn't have.
Exactly right.
That dynamic between James Harden and Joel is what Donovan doesn't have. And
Yeah.
I really hope this summer that
Totes.
gets addressed, because I think if Donovan just simply had more space to work with, I mean, literally last night, his crossover game is filthy right now. I mean,
Yeah.
he got Book, he got several guys, he got Mikal Bridges with it, like he got several guys from the Suns with that crossover, and I just think that if they could find this summer, if they could find some balance on the offensive end with another guy you have to respect offensively, I think that'd be phenomenal for his game.
But dude, Buckets O'Neal.
Sorry if you're offended by that.
Anyway,
No.
my point
No,
is
not Buckets O'Neal. Buckets O'Bench, okay? Thank you.
Buckets O'Bench.
Yeah, thank you.
Somebody get that word to Bowler. Buckets O'Bench. Anyway, the point is, I think there's a lot. The Lakers are an absolute disaster. I mean, when is the last time we can say the Lakers didn't make a trade because they didn't want to spend more money?
Whatever.
Think about that. They didn't make the John Wall trade because they didn't want to spend more money.
Yeah.
And it's killing them. I mean, it's absolutely killing them. And I think LeBron is showing you that he has got a ton left in the tank. They got embarrassed by New Orleans last night again in Los Angeles.
Genie Bus walked out.
But fucking LeBron was incredible.
Yeah.
Like he again, I really need to learn to go to bed, but whatever. Again last night, I'm watching him play, and I just don't know how he's doing it. This is one of those things where like, if it were baseball, we'd be saying he's on steroids. Like, I'm serious. He is. Last night, LeBron James, 36 minutes, 32 points, 6 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Like 13 to 23. He actually went 5 of 5 from the free throw line.
Line of Kane and B12.
I don't know how he's doing it because, by the way, they really got nothing from nobody else. Like they got Carmelo Anthony is the only guy scoring off of the bench for the Lakers. I look at the way Russ is playing right now. The guy cannot hit water from a boat.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
16 points, 0 of 2 from 3, 5 of 15 from the floor. 6 of his 16 were from the free throw line.
15.
They were, but seriously, think about that. You score 16 points. He shot so poorly that 6 of his points were from the free throw line.
Dude.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what they do. They've tried to change the lineup. They started Trevor Ariza. Like and the shocking thing is they're awful defensively.
You're so fucked.
Yeah, like it's not that they can't score. That's not even the biggest issue. They're terrible defensively.
After the street closed Davis.
And this is why I say, how did the Jazz lose to the Lakers?
Embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
I don't know. And by the way, if speaking of fat ass, if Zion Williamson would come back and play basketball, CJ McCollum looks like he has been there his entire life.
Yeah.
That dude is just
I'm
smooth.
telling you, when you can score the way he can score, it doesn't matter what jersey you're wearing. You're going to get buckets.
8 of 15, 4 of 7 from 3, 22 points.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's not even like it's not a thing.
I'm for real.
Yeah. Seriously. And I this is why I say Zion Williamson, and we took a lot of heat. We had a conversation a couple of weeks ago, I guess it was now, about whether Zion Williamson was the biggest bust in the NBA.
Fact.
I'm telling you, they have put so much into him, and he has just given them nothing. And the sad part is, when he actually plays, he's a prolific scorer. Like the numbers tell you that Zion Williamson can put the ball in the bucket, but that dude just can't stay healthy. So anyway, I say that because looking at these teams across the NBA, looking at Golden State losing last night, I think you're in a time where there's going to be this lull where a lot of the best teams are going to slow down a little bit.
Yeah. Well, they're preparing for the playoffs. I mean, you're at this point again, and I guess this is probably should have been brought up like 20 minutes ago when we were talking about the Jazz and the Suns, but that is the other thing that I kind of took away from last night. I really felt like, the Suns were, I mean, obviously trying to beat the Jazz. I mean, let's not, sugarcoat anything. They were trying to win the game, but I did feel like they were resting Book for a little bit longer than usual.
Yeah.
Like you were playing the bench guys a little bit more than usual. Like, they were doing some things that normally they wouldn't do.
And I think they miss Cameron Payne. I mean, they miss a legitimate ball handler off the bench. Because that's the other thing, and we're seeing this with Donovan Mitchell as well, that when you're Devin Booker and you got to bring the ball up, it's taxing.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. And that's why managing Mike Conley right now is really important. And I thought that the national broadcast made a really good point about this. Chris Paul was hurt in the playoffs last year. Maybe this injury came at the right time because you're looking at 6 to 8 weeks. He'll be back 2 weeks before the playoffs start at that point.
NBA season is so long.
Yeah, and you're looking at a guy in Chris Paul who's 87 years old, but his legs are going to be fresh. His game does not require him to, shoot a ton of shots to get back in a rhythm. He plays in the mid-range. And you look at the way that Chris Paul has gone out on the season in the last 5, 6, 7 years when he left his groin on the floor in Houston, or last year when he's playing with 2 broken hands. That's not going to be the case this year.
Yeah.
So I wonder maybe if there's a silver lining in the Chris Paul injury. I don't know. We'll see. But that's what the Jazz are lacking. They're lacking that impact veteran who can. I mean, Chris Paul has turned Devin Booker into the best mid-range player in the NBA. Devin Booker is the best mid-range player in the NBA right now. And I think, to your point, my are and we, the Chicago Bulls, as many injuries as the Bulls have had, you're looking at a guy in DeMar DeRozan who's played in some really big minutes in this league.
Yeah, man.
Who's come in and raised the game of everybody else around him.
Yeah, I think you can make a case both ways for who's the best mid-range player in the game. I think DeMar
I think I love DeMar, don't get me wrong. Listen, I'm loving the renaissance of my Chicago Bulls. But the one thing that Devin Booker does better than anybody else is that he shoots the three well, so people have to respect that. And what I love about Chris Paul's impact on Devin Booker is Devin Booker now knows the 5 spots on the floor that are automatic. It doesn't matter if a guy, like we were talking about this yesterday, and I don't remember who it was. Somebody had a hand like right in his face. It doesn't matter. The ball's going in the hole.
Yeah.
He's got 5 legitimate spots on the floor. Now, DeMar, he needs to stick his ass into you at the elbow, and he's going to play free throw line extended. He's going to back you down and hit a turnaround. And he loves to play right around the free throw line. Devin Booker shows you repeatedly he can drop you down on the baseline. The other thing I wish DeMar DeRozan had a little bit more of, and I think Zach has it for the Bulls, is the ability to drive the baseline. I think one of the things in this league that is emerging is the importance of getting the basketball down on the baseline.
Yeah.
Because you're able to kick that into the paint. You're able to kick that to the corner. Or look at the pass that Donovan Mitchell made yesterday.
Yeah, both teams were making it. Yeah. It clearly was a focal point.
I mean, that is emerging because it's what the Suns have done. And so now, who's the first team that we saw really initiate that? Well, Klay Thompson came back, and what's Klay doing now? Driving the baseline. Because where does Klay Thompson play? In the corner. So it's that really important skill that DeMar DeRozan, to me, needs to be a little bit better at. I'd love to see DeMar setting up other guys because Devin Booker is elite at getting to the paint and either dropping that mid-range or kicking that ball to the corner.
Yeah.
And that's why I put him like a bit ahead of everybody else because he doesn't necessarily use the mid-range to score all the time. And it's one of those, I know that everybody thinks, well, the mid-range game means he scores in the mid-range. But I'm telling you, it means you're multifaceted. When you are Chris Paul or you are Devin Booker, DeMar DeRozan to a certain extent, I think we're seeing Donovan Mitchell do this now, where you get in the paint and you kick that ball out. Like that three that I think it was got in the paint, kicked to Bogdanovich.
Yeah.
And Bogey hit the three. That's the essence of what Donovan Mitchell is evolving to. Is I'm getting in the paint not to try and dunk on guys. I'm getting in the paint to set up my teammates. And that's why they've won 8 of 9. That's why this team is becoming a better defensive team because their offensive looks are better.
Yeah, they're making shots now.
Yeah, so that helps you defensively. But anyway, here nor there, I could go on and on about it. All I'm saying is I look at where this league is right now, and I look at the time in the date on the calendar. There's going to be a lull here. And I think that's why you're going to see some of the bottom teams, mid-table teams in the West specifically, are going to come up. Now in the East, they're so closely, stacked.
Yeah.
That I think you're going to have change all season long. But I think when you look out West and you look at the Western Conference standings and you see that Dallas, Denver, and teams like the Jazz have the talent to get really hot. And you hear about Michael Porter Jr. now targeting April 1st as a return date. You know that they're going to get Jamal Murray back here probably in the next 10 days. Hey, by the way, Denver's about to get much better. And my questions about Dallas remain. I just don't see Luka Doncic as a guy that can carry a team to a championship.
Agreed.
And with all due respect to the prowess of Rudy as a defender, there's not a 2-guard in the league that should be shut down one-on-one with a center.
Facts.
There's just not. And Luka and that thumpa of his, he's just not a quick athletic player.
Come on, let's go, Schlep Rock.
Yeah, as hot as his mom is, Luka's not like an athletic player. None of that has anything to do with what I'm talking about. Hey, baby. Anyway, the point is, Luka's got to be better. I just don't view him as a championship caliber player. I don't want to misconstrue this talk on the Jazz as, hey, they're going to win a ring. No, they're not. Enjoy this. They've won 8 of 9. They're playing really well. They just beat 2 of the teams that they had to beat that are right around them.
Yeah.
Right? Memphis lost a game the other night on Friday, I think it was. The Jazz beat Dallas. You're within 3 of Memphis.
Yeah.
Right? Like 19-5 is possible. So we'll see. All right, let's get some of your comments in here. Good morning, Forrest G is first one in. Forrest. Daddy Gobert showing us who's boss in Dallas.
Daddy.
Hey, Daddy.
Wow.
Daddy.
No.
I won't.
No.
George Mitchell says hello from Georgia.
Georgia.
Like Atlanta, Georgia, or like Georgia in the Balkans. The Blind Swordsman DS is Georgia in the Balkans.
I don't know.
The Blind Swordsman DS, good morning to you. Morning, boys. Great win for the Jazz. I'm going to hold my breath, but this could bring momentum from here out. Sure. Greg Hawkins says, what's up, Monty Jake in chat? New movie taping starts tomorrow, so I may be away from the show for a week.
Guy.
I haven't coughed in a week. Can't wait for the show today, and welcome back to Salt Lake. Thanks, Greg. Congratulations on your new movie role. George Mitchell says Mitchell was phenomenal. He was. Darrell King says 20-4. Ooh. You're not just going to lose 4 the rest of the way. I think that's impossible. Rudy Sanchez says, morning, fellas. Welcome back to Utah.
Utah.
Forrest G says, what's up? What was Phoenix thinking? I'm confused why they did not call a timeout. Agreed. I'm confused why Jay's pass was so terrible.
In the the 5th row?
It went into the stands.
Yeah.
I think it's important that we have another perimeter defender when Royce comes out of the game. I think we're better having Royce and House. Yeah, I think they play together. I would agree with that. But by the way, for all the people who say, oh, Quinn Snyder sucks.
He doesn't make adjustments.
What adjustments did he make? I don't get it. There you go. Why Quinn gave more minutes to Forrest than Butler? Well, Butler's out with an ankle injury right now, by the way. Butler is a better defender than Trent, and I don't think Jared can make passes and layup finishes. Well, I think Trent Forrest gives you in limited exposure, gives you an athletic dimension that you just don't have anywhere else.
Yeah.
And I say this about Daniel House as well. Daniel House is great in a small window. When you play him 30 minutes a game, the greatness goes away exponentially more.
Needs to come off the bench 10 minutes at a time. Get that pop.
That's it. That's what I'm saying. Butler is too delicate, and we need wins, Forrest G says. Hopefully we can develop him into future games. This team doesn't develop young guys, man. Like, I wish they did. But I worry about Jared Butler. I have a lot of concern for him. This has been – it's probably strong to say this is a lost season for Jared Butler. It is shocking that we're in March and
they're just not playing him.
He just doesn't get time.
Yeah.
He doesn't. JP Shanahan, good morning to you. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. It was a great win, don't get me wrong, but they were playing without Chris Paul, if we're going to be fair. I understand why people are saying that. Several people said that. I understand why people are saying that. This is the Phoenix Suns team that was put in front of you. And then you almost lost the game.
Yeah, the Jazz should not be punished for... just as we said last year, the Clippers shouldn't be punished because, Mike and Don were hurt. I mean, the Jazz shouldn't be punished for Chris Paul being hurt.
Yeah. Av Lee says, hey, guys, great show as usual. Thanks. Giggity, where'd you go? Av Lee says, the last 2 games are worrying me very much. In both, we saw lots of hero game out of Mitchell, Clarkson, and Bogey. I don't know how you fix Jordan Clarkson.
It's hot and it's cold. It's the best at times and it's the worst at times, bro.
That air ball 3 yesterday was...
ugly. But then he popped off at what do you have? 25, 23,
20
something like that.
Yeah,
So,
but I just don't. I don't understand it. I want to understand what his. How can he? Dude, he cannot dribble into the paint without turning it over.
Yeah,
it's weird. He's got like Gobert-itis when he dribbles the ball into the paint.
Gobert-itis.
What? It's a real thing. And it's so frustrating. And he gives you, what do you have? 22, 10 of 17, 2 of 7 from 3, did not shoot a free throw. 5 rebounds, 3 dimes, 2 steals.
Yeah, man.
But the bigger problem for me in yesterday's game with the Suns is Bojan Bogdanovic is just not he's like not a thing. Like, he's not great. He's not terrible. He just ain't.
He doesn't get opportunities. That's the problem. He gets like 4 games.
1 of 5 from 3. 0 of 1 at the free throw line. 5 of 13.
Maybe he got
For
more
11
opportunities than I thought.
But how does he only have 2 rebounds? How does Buckets O'Neal?
Buckets O'Neal.
How does Royce O'Neal have 0 rebounds yesterday? Not 1, not 2, 0. He had none. Like these, when you're looking for the negative, which I'm not, but it just kind of crept up and stuff.
This case is empty.
There's some real things in that game
0.
that's like 0 rebounds for him. James Knight says, wait, I'm hearing encouragement for the Jazz. Wow. Oh, wait, here it comes. No.
As usual, James' contribution is always,
Limited. Avley says Donovan tries to make all these flashy passes that look good, but not really trying to find his teammates. Gobert needs to beg for the ball so many times under the basket. But again, I'm just asking you, when have you seen where you throw him the ball in the post, Rudy Gobert? Yesterday's a great example. He cannot dribble the basketball to a positive outcome. You just can't. They swipe at it. It gets turned over. He misses the easy layup because he's flustered off the dribble. Like, you don't want to toss him the ball in the post.
Yeah, it's not a good choice.
What you'd like to do is throw him lobs, which they did. What you'd like to do is, throw him that high heat at the rim that'll catch and go back up and dunk it.
Mm-hmm.
That's about the limit of his game.
Yeah.
You cannot ask him to dribble into the paint because he will turn it over. Go back and watch the tape. It ain't good. Hawkins says the Jazz do well when Hassan does well. It really shows. I agree with that.
Yeah, he's a different. He has big impact both ways. When he's having one of those nights where he doesn't seem engaged, it's a pretty negative outcome, right? He's a negative player by traditional plus minus stats. But when he does what he did yesterday, he can make a big impact. It's awesome. Yeah, exactly. So he definitely is one to watch.
What did you guys change? The set looks a little different. Other than we forgot.
Oh, I know what we changed. Yeah.
Hey.
Oh, yeah.
There is a PS5 we're giving away. Make sure you hit subscribe. Wait, lower that. Lower.
Lowering. Okay, lowering.
Lower.
Okay,
Lower.
lowering.
There it is. Okay,
All
right there.
There we go. Yep.
PS5 we're giving away. Make sure you hit subscribe. If you are here, give us a thumbs up, please. It really helps the channel grow. When we get to 5,000 subs, we will give away that PS5. I can't say subs normally. It just is what it is. So shut up. When we get to 5,000, we'll give that Bad Mama Jamma away. Indeed. Yes, please do. Buy a damn shirt. You're a casual. $25. DM Jake. And DM Jake. SLC Supercars on Twitter. What?
Wait, you don't want the DMs from the people?
I don't. We need to streamline it. DM Jake, SLC Supercars.
Yeah.
On Twitter and Instagram. Derek Gray says, you guys are schmucks.
Cool.
House was in his head, but if Donnie doesn't score 14 in the playoffs, you would call it a bust.
House was in whose head?
Yeah, whose head was Daniel
Are
Housen?
you referring to Devin Booker? Because he wasn't in Devin Booker's head.
Yeah,
Devin Booker was in his head.
Devin Booker had like 4 threes in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, dude. Like, I don't know what you're looking at. By the way, how many possessions in a row did Devin Booker get a foul called on House because House was trying to pressure him?
Multiple.
Like, it's not like I don't. Yeah, cool. You can be the guy who calls us schmucks, but what's going to happen in a week is you're going to realize that we're right as usual. So we've seen this story before. When's the last time we got the "Do you guys even watch Jazz games?" guy coming into the comments?
Yeah. Jeremy Bolton says, "Hey, good morning, Jensen, everyone. Everyone. Good morning, JB." Brandon Whiteside says, "Booker flopping and crying on every play."
Go.
Yeah, there you go.
Here we go.
Giggity says it was the Suns' third game in 4 days. They were definitely resting some guys a little bit more, and I think that's why. You just can't worry about what Suns team is in front of you. They beat the Phoenix Suns. That's one of the best teams in the NBA.
Yeah.
And they did it being led by Donovan Mitchell. And they did it with him really being you can see he is asserting himself. He is standing up coaching when he's out of the game. He is huddling guys on the floor. Like, you can see, and maybe all that's for show. I don't know. You can see Donovan Mitchell asserting his position.
Yeah.
And this is what we've been talking about. And again, you can tell me, I have sources. They don't know shit. Okay, well, what did we tell you?
Yeah, next question.
This is Don's team.
It is.
It is Donovan Mitchell's team. Everybody has told you that. And the locker room stress seems to have dissipated quite a bit from it, what I understand, because I think they've just come to a point where, what do we have to lose? What do we have to lose? This team understands that they are good enough to beat anybody on any given night. I think they also are pretty realistic about the fact that they're not, like in a 7-game series, they're probably not beating the Suns team. In a 7-game series, they're probably not beating Memphis or Golden State. But that doesn't mean they should just not play the series then? Like, I mean, this is a good, not great basketball team.
As we've been saying for years.
I view the Suns as, without Chris Paul, they're the same team as the Jazz. They're good, they're not great. They have a superstar player in Don. They have a superstar player in Devin. But without the difference maker here, Chris Paul, 100%. I think the center position for these two teams, I think offensively, it's very clearly DeAndre Ayton. I mean, just absolutely dominating with the free throw line jumper yesterday. But can't defend your mom. Like, and this is what I've said in Giggity or all our Phoenix guys, I think you've probably heard me say this, that DeAndre Ayton is not good defensively.
Yeah.
He just isn't. He is not a willing participant in man-to-man defense. Like, you watch the way he defended Rudy Gobert, which is why I'm surprised that Rudy didn't have a 20-20 game, because, like, he just wasn't attached to Rudy, and he was letting Rudy run behind him, which is Lob City. And now, granted, DeAndre did deflect the one lob, but I just think that these two teams are really equal without Chris Paul. Chris Paul's better than Mike Conley. I don't think anybody can argue to the contrary. But this Jazz team is capable of beating anybody.
Yeah.
You're just not going to do that in a 7-game series where athletes are going to make plays. So it is what it is. Brandon Whiteside says, Suns homers hope they lose in the first round.
Okay, cool.
Okay, cool. I don't get that. Whiteside steal and dunk from the throat of McGee last night was filthy sexy. I agree, Forrest. Like,
wow.
But you see why JaVale has value to that team. I will also point at JaVale McGee as the kind of role player this Jazz team doesn't have.
Yeah, it was fun to watch Whiteside and JaVale go back and forth. That was definitely fun.
I think you're looking at, man, if you can just make changes in the offseason, this Jazz team they just lack so many little things. Well, in athleticism, which is a big thing, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Tyler Hopkins, what's up? He says, the thing I saw was that Devin Booker can't carry the Suns all by himself if he's still a very good player who can score. Exactly right. He's not, and this is what we always say about Book. He's not your guy, Kevin Durant. He's not LeBron James. He's in that cut below. And this is the question about Steph Curry. Can Steph Curry on his own win you a championship? He hasn't yet.
Yeah.
And he probably can't.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he was 3 of 10 last night in their loss to Dallas.
Yeah.
Like, but you put Dre on that team, you put Clay on that team, you put Wiggins, you put Peyton, you put
off the bench.
Iguodala off the bench.
Listen, Max Kellerman, chill out. Okay?
My point is, teams are only as good as their collective. Nobody in this league. Why do you think we saw super teams and now tandems? Why do you think James Harden wanted to get with Joel? Why do you think that, Harden, KD, and Kyrie wanted to play together? He's big boned. Why do you think they wanted to play together? Because you're a collective. You are only as good as your collective in this league.
Right.
The Jazz have one guy. They don't have a duo. They don't have a collective.
But Rudy.
One guy. Don't start. Don't. Cam Harrison says, good morning, guys. Great win by the Jazz. Shout out to Mo Bamba.
Shout out to Mo Bamba. I'm not really sure what that has to do with anything.
It's his favorite drop. Why do you hesitate on that drop now?
Shout out to Mo Bamba.
It's Mo Bamba.
Mo Bamba.
Shout out to Mo Bamba.
Nathan Jennings vlog says, I think Don just watches your guys' show and is now listening to you. I'm certain that's what
I'm guessing.
Is there any doubt?
It is, yeah.
Wait, I thought we all knew that.
Shout out to Mo Bamba.
Hello.
Duh.
Jesus Christ destroys big tech's Marxism loses.
Facts.
Okay. Marxism says, not true. No, I should call you Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, no. I don't know. JC, the big destroyer, says, not true. If Utah stays fully healthy, keyword, and they stay locked in on defense and urgency, they never have. They are more than capable of being Phoenix or anybody else. They are not. I would love to agree with that. The Utah Jazz are not beating, and this is just my opinion. I'm just some lame ass who,
Yeah,
no, I'm sorry. I'm a casual.
Right, you're
right?
a casual.
I'm a casual. But my feeling is that the Jazz are a really good team.
Yeah.
They're not better than Phoenix. They're not better than Golden State. They're not better than Brooklyn. They're not better than Milwaukee, and they're not better than Philly in a 7-game series.
Mm-hmm.
I think those 5 teams for sure. Memphis is an interesting one. Memphis is just so damn athletic. Did anybody see Memphis that Friday night when they beat the Bulls? Did anybody see the Ja Morant finish? Who on the Jazz can do that? Where he drives into the lane and spins in a 360 and lays it up.
Yep. It's the John Wall move.
I'm telling you, yeah, the Jazz are a good, not a great team.
Yeah.
I think they're better than Dallas. I think they're better than the bottom tier teams in the West. Right now, they're better than the Clippers, Lakers, Kings.
Injuries are killing those teams, man.
But they're not better than Memphis, in my opinion. They're not better than Golden State. They're not better than Phoenix. They're not better than Brooklyn. They're not better than Philly. They're not better than Milwaukee. Luka's mom is still the hottest. Like
Cold-blooded, clean, methodical, and thorough.
Austin Lewis says Rudy isn't actually a bad passer off the pick and roll. Just don't let him dribble. Exactly.
Yeah.
I actually think Rudy is an underrated passer because he is so flippin' tall. He can see around. He can see on top. The issue is that's not the Jazz game. He sets a pick. He doesn't get the ball in the pick and roll.
Right.
He doesn't. What you see is that little handoff that he and Conley do, and then he immediately hands it to Don. That's that design at the top of the key there.
Yeah.
Especially at the free throw line. Rudy gets into no man's land between the rings in the paint. That's his no man's land. He cannot dribble there. He really can't operate there. Rudy needs to be really in the protected area to dominate. It's when Rudy Gobert gets the ball at the top of the key and you see the Suns like backing away from him because he hasn't shown that he can hit a jumper consistently. I think we all know he has one, but he doesn't use it. So right now he's just awkward. Like he doesn't have refined skill. Watching DeAndre Ayton hit those jump shots yesterday.
Again and again and again.
It's just it screams for what they need they just need that push shot like that JaVale and DeAndre Ayton have, like in the paint where it's a little push jumper. If Rudy had that, this team would win 60 games.